The search for a missing woman from Markham intensifies.
She disappeared days ago, and tonight what brought police to this large rural property in Stouffville. Good evening. Family and friends haven't seen Yuk-Ying Mui since Friday.
There's been no sign of her, and police say her disappearance is considered suspicious. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with the very latest in this investigation. Mike.
Well, Nathan, Michelle, all day, police officers with York Region have been focusing their search efforts at this farm in Stouffville. It's here they believe Mui was supposed to come on the day she disappeared, though at this point, it's not clear if she actually made it here. Search and rescue teams scour a large rural property in Stouffville. Divers with the Marine unit search a large pond on the property for any sign of missing Markham real estate agent Yuk-Ying Mui.
We don't know if she was here, but we believe that this was one of the places she was due to visit on Friday.
Mui, who also goes by Anita, was last seen by her family at her Markham home in the Baycliff and Warden area Friday morning. They last had contact around 11 that morning. The farmland police are searching is near Kennedy Road and Vandorf Side Road, about 30 kilometers northeast of the Plaza parking lot in the Warden and Finch area, where investigators found Mui's Mercedes-Benz SUV on the same afternoon of her disappearance. At this point, investigators don't suspect foul play, but they couldn't say why Mui was expected to attend this property.
Whether it was a showing or not, I don't know. Why was her vehicle in Toronto? How did it end up there? And then she was here. Was her vehicle here? We don't know, and we're hoping that somebody does know.
Mui is a well-known real estate agent in York Region. Police say it's out of character for her to go this long without contacting her family. Joseph Lau has known Mui for 20 years.
We are concerned, and we hope that history can return safely, but it's 5 days already.
He says she was an active member of the community.
And do a lot of charity, all right? So it's a shock that she's missing.
Area residents say police first arrived over the weekend and have been canvassing the area.
They seized the property and they didn't allow anybody in since Saturday.
Police confirmed their forensic identification officers searched the home on the property Monday night before search and rescue teams were deployed this morning. This woman lives across the street and says the home isn't occupied.
A couple of weeks ago, a couple of people came over to ask us about the neighborhood because they were looking to rent the house. If she was here, the car was here, you know, I wouldn't really know, right? So it's unfortunate. I just hope they find to give closure, right?
As police deploy all available resources to search for any evidence about Anita Mui's whereabouts. Now, within the last hour, search efforts have wrapped up here with search and rescue teams leaving the scene. Police haven't revealed if they found anything. You can see one police cruiser remains on the scene here as the investigation continues. Reporting live in Stouffville, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And we have breaking news tonight from the Islington and Eglinton area. Emergency crews are on the scene of a trench rescue on Ravensbourne Crescent. We're told one person fell into a hole and became trapped. It appears there was construction happening at the home. Fire and paramedics as well as police are attending, and there's no word on the condition of the male worker who became trapped.
And a scary scene early this morning in Scarborough. A pregnant woman was taken to hospital after she was involved in this rollover crash. This happened outside a long-term care home and daycare center near Ellesmere and Nielsen Roads. Officials say it appears the driver lost control of the SUV and struck a boulder in front of the building. Toronto Fire says the driver was 6 months pregnant. Crews had to cut the vehicle open to get her out. She was taken to a trauma center as a precaution. Health officials are sounding the alarm over a rise in Mpox cases in Toronto.
The number of infections has more than quadrupled since this time last year.
We are concerned, and we hope that history can return safely, but it's 5 days already.
Updating our top stories, crews searched a rural property in Stouffville today. Yuk-Ying Mui was last seen by her family on Friday. Police think this was one of the places the Markham woman and real estate agent was due to visit that day. At this point, investigators say they don't suspect foul play.
You know, about almost 3/4 of the people who've acquired Mpox this year have not had 1 or 2 doses of vaccine. So we'd really like to remind people who are at risk to get either their first shot or their second shot if they've only had one so far.
That plea from Toronto Public Health after the number of Mpox infections in Toronto spiked. As of July 31st, there were 93 cases this year compared to 21 this time last year.
I think it should have happened a long time ago.
Why is that?
Because he was the franchise player when he was drafted.
Auston Matthews is expected to be named the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs during a news conference tomorrow. The NHL's top scorers last season takes over from John Tavares, who reportedly supports the change.
And remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app.
Starbucks announced a new chief executive officer today. The stock surged higher as investors applauded the news. Paul Bagnall of BNN Bloomberg has more.
Shares of Starbucks soared by more than 20% today as investors applauded news of an abrupt change coming to the company's senior management. Starbucks has hired Brian Niccol to be its new chief executive officer. Niccol is currently CEO of Chipotle Mexican Grill and will take the top job at Starbucks on September the 9th. The current CEO, Laxman Narasimhan, will step down immediately. Prior to today's big increase, Starbucks stock had fallen by 20% during 2024. Home Depot has cut its sales forecast, saying many of its customers are waiting for interest rates to fall before spending on home improvement projects. The company is now predicting same-store sales, a key measure of sales performance that excludes the effect of newly opened stores, to fall by 3 to 4% this year. Earlier, it had forecast only a 1% decline. Home Depot has 182 stores in Canada. Despite the gloomy forecast, Home Depot shares rose today. Shares of WSP Global, a big Montreal-based engineering company, rose today. The company made a large acquisition in the United States. WSP agreed to pay Power Engineers Incorporated of Idaho for $2.4 billion. Power Engineers provides services to power generators and renewable energy firms, among other clients. WSP's CEO said the purchase would put the company, quote, at the forefront of the energy transition. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar traded up slightly to 72.94 cents US. West Texas Intermediate crude oil fell by $1.66 US per barrel to $76.80. And the price of Western Canadian Select, a Canadian grade of heavy oil, rose to $65.28 US, a gain of $3.12. As for stock markets, the S&P TSX Composite Index in Toronto had a strong session. It finished up by almost a full percentage point, or 219 points, to 22,618 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Paul Bagnall of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Some exciting news for animal lovers of all kinds in the GTA. Today was the grand opening of a new animal hospital in King City. Several dignitaries were on hand to cut the ribbon to open the facility. It's a 60,000 square foot facility which has 4 stories, spans 50 acres, and brings together specialists and advanced technologies all under one roof. This hospital facility offers a full range of services for both small animals and horses. It has 12 exam rooms, 7 operating rooms, a state-of-the-art lab, pharmacy, and a specialized cat ward. The complex even features an indoor arena and outdoor paddocks for horses and green spaces for dogs.
I am honored to work alongside such a dedicated group of professionals who respect the cherished human-animal bond and share a common goal: to improve the lives of animals for the people who love them. As we look to the future, our mission remains clear. We will continue to innovate, educate, and provide exceptional care to every animal that walks through our doors. We are committed to being a center of excellence, a place of learning, and a source of inspiration for the veterinarian community and beyond.
The animal hospital was founded by philanthropist husband and wife team Danielle and Rob Scheinberg, who were presented with a plaque at today's ceremony by the King City Mayor. They also founded Dogtails Rescue and Sanctuary in 2014.
Toronto Blue Jays are hoping for back-to-back wins when they take on the Angels in Los Angeles again tonight.
Ground ball up the middle. That'll be a base hit. Horwitz around third. He's going to score.
Well, Wagner had a big night in his major league debut after being called up from AAA Buffalo. He had 3 hits, including an RBI in the 3rd inning that put Toronto up 2-0. The Jays added to the lead with a 2-run home run. Toronto also got a strong performance from Bowden Francis, who worked a career-best 7 innings, as the Jays went on to win it 4-2. Tonight's game gets underway just after 9:30.
Just ahead, taking giant steps to raise money for charity. A Toronto man walks to Niagara Falls to purchase much-needed school supplies for students in his neighborhood.
Tonight, new hope for life on Mars.
It means that it's potentially habitable in the mid-crust of Mars.
The surprising new finding beneath the surface of the red planet and why scientists are over the moon. Later on CTV National News.
Universities are violating antitrust laws.
As here's Masterson weaving his way into the zone. Masterson still has the puck right in on goal. Scores!
TSN's Rick Westhead is reporting the lawsuit by Ryland Masterson was filed last night in U.S. District Court. It argues the NCAA and the schools are anti-competitive because they prevent anyone who's played a game for a major junior team from playing NCAA hockey. The 19-year-old is a member of the Fort Erie Meteors of the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. In 2022, Masterson played 2 exhibition games for the OHL's Windsor Spitfires. That cost him his eligibility in the NCAA.
2 men accused of planning a terror attack in Toronto remain in custody after a bail hearing.
Why they were allowed into Canada will be the focus of an investigation by a House of Commons committee. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
Since the RCMP arrested the father and son in an alleged foiled terror plot, questions have been swirling around how the father obtained Canadian citizenship, given his alleged ISIS ties. At an emergency meeting of the House Public Safety and National Security Committee, MPs from all parties agreed to try to get answers about a case that has left many shaken.
We believe that just as law enforcement is doing its work, that Parliament must do its work as well in pursuit of transparency, to prioritize public safety.
Over the course of 6 hearings starting later this month, senior officials will be asked to testify about what they knew and when. Among those called to appear as witnesses are Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc, Immigration Minister Mark Miller and their deputies, as well as the RCMP Commissioner, the Interim Director of CSIS, the President of the Canada Border Services Agency, and former Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale. Despite today's showing of collegiality, both the Conservatives and the Liberals have set the groundwork to play the blame game during these hearings.
We look forward to having these meetings so Conservatives can truly appreciate that their cuts have consequences to our national security and the safety of our communities.
As MPs dig into the immigration and security screening conducted, the federal government has also launched an internal examination of the circumstances of this case, something Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says is being taken extremely seriously. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
A new UN report says Canada's temporary foreign workers are subject to a wide range of abuses and aren't always aware of their rights. It is urging Ottawa to close some of the programs. CTV's Colton Prale has the details.
A scathing UN report calls Canada's temporary foreign worker program a breeding ground for modern-day slavery.
A temporary immigration scheme that by design puts workers in a situation where they simply do not have access to the same rights as other workers.
The report takes aim at closed work permits, which limit workers to a specific employer, claiming they can foster exploitation where employers can control workers' access to housing, healthcare, and their migration status. In May, a Senate committee recommended Ottawa phase out these permits within the next 3 years and consider regional or sectoral permits.
The cure for this is not to do multiple program reforms without addressing the core issues at hand, which is potential abuse. So first address the abuse.
Industry has warned against eliminating the permits.
If there's a problem with a few bad actors, then there's compliance and enforcement rules already in place. Throw the book at them. don't change the whole thing.
Historically used to support Canada's agricultural sector, the influx of temporary workers skyrocketed in recent years, from 84,000 in 2018 to roughly 150,000 last year. The increase largely driven not by farmhands, but low-wage workers, often in fast food restaurants.
It should never be used to bring in low-wage workers from poor countries to take jobs away from or suppress the wages of Canadian workers.
Last week, the government said it was considering limiting applications to that stream. The UN says ultimately temporary workers need a better pathway to permanent residency and the same rights as workers around the country. Colton Prail, CTV News, Ottawa.
Ukraine says it is in control of 74 settlements in Russia's Kursk region following last week's surprise incursion. A Ukrainian military unit released video showing a soldier in the Kursk region. Kyiv says its forces are still advancing and have made gains of 1 to 3 kilometers in the last 24 hours. But Ukraine insists it has no interest in occupying the region. Ukraine's president says a number of Russian soldiers have been captured who could be swapped for Ukrainian prisoners of war. Lithuania's defense minister told Volodymyr Zelensky today Russia is moving troops from Kaliningrad to the Kursk region.
In Greece, the worst wildfire of the year eased on the outskirts of the capital today due to weaker winds. The blaze is responsible for the death of one person. It had advanced into Athens' northern suburbs, burning homes and causing panic. The fire also damaged around 10,000 hectares of land, but officials say the situation has improved and there are now random fires. But the country will remain on high alert until Thursday. High winds are expected to pick up again, and temperatures of up to 40 degrees are forecast.
Donald Trump was on X last night doing an interview with owner Elon Musk, who's a supporter of the Republican presidential candidate. But the event was marred by technical issues. CTV's Joy Malbin reports.
Both sides hate him.
Donald Trump called it the interview of the century, but his conversation with billionaire Elon Musk was hit with technical glitches.
My apologies for the late start.
Musk offering up a powerful megaphone in hopes of winning votes for Trump, who's struggling to sharpen his attacks against Kamala Harris. Harris is leading in some polls in key battleground states. Trump insulted her as not smart and too weak to take on dictators. He praised North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Russia's president, even sharing a conversation he had with Vladimir Putin about invading Ukraine.
I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. And I told him things that what I do. And he said, no way. And I said, way.
It was Trump's greatest hits, bragging, unscripted, riddled with grievances and misinformation. Seemingly stuck in the past, he talked about beating Joe Biden in the debate and falsely claimed Biden left the race because
this was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
And strangely, Trump gushed over his new opponent, now on the cover of Time magazine.
It was a drawing, and actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla, that's right, but of course she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that.
Not the message some Trump allies wanted to hear, wanting him to drill down on the economy, inflation and immigration, issues voters care about. But Trump will do what he wants, and millions listened in.
73 million people utilized X to watch it and listen to it. That's an incredibly astounding number, and it's smart in a lot of ways because it allows him to go directly to voters.
As for Harris, she'll roll out her economic strategy this week, dismissing the Trump-Musk interview as self-obsessed rich guys who can't even run a live stream in 2024. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Canada just had its most successful Summer Olympics ever, not including boycotted games. And the celebrations continue here. But in Los Angeles, they are already thinking about 2028. The Olympic flag arrived in LA yesterday on a flight carrying American athletes and officials. Olympic organizers there will now begin ramping up for the Games 4 years from now. It will be the third time the Summer Olympics have been held in Los Angeles in the modern era. The city hosted the world in 1932 and 1984.
Coming up, the pitfalls of embarking on a road trip in an electric vehicle. A driver shares his frustrating journey. Is it a one-off experience, or is the current EV network sorely lacking?
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you're traveling outside of Canada, you have to be on the lookout for scams, especially when it comes to taking taxis. In 2 separate cases, viewers were scammed out of more than $5,000 while on vacation in Mexico. I'll have my reports just ahead.
After a fresher start to the week, the heat is on as we head in towards our Wednesday, our Thursday, and our Friday before a return to more seasonal and slightly soggy weather. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
If you're vacationing down south and need to hail a taxi, you need to make sure you're using a reputable licensed company.
There are fake taxis and shuttles operating in Mexico that are ripping off unsuspecting tourists for thousands of dollars. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, a popular scam in Mexico is when an unlicensed taxi demands you make a payment with a credit card. It may seem like you're only paying a few dollars, but you're actually charged thousands, and once you pay it, it's hard to get it back.
I just want my $2,300 back.
Glenn Egan of Toronto was visiting Mexico City in March of this year. He took a taxi ride that should have cost about $15. The driver demanded he pay with a credit card, then claimed the charges didn't go through and accepted cash. Within a minute, Egan got a notice he'd been scammed.
I stepped out of the taxi and immediately I got a text alert from RBC saying $2,300 and a few cents had just been charged by Visa.
Egan said he contacted Visa right away to dispute the charge, but after 4 months of trying, he's been told he will not be given a refund.
At the end, they basically said, well, I didn't get a receipt. And so without a receipt, they can't dispute the charge.
It comes down to my word versus a scammer's word.
Adam Attard of Mississauga was vacationing near Cancun, Mexico in July. He took a short ride in a shuttle at the airport. The driver locked the doors and demanded payment by credit card.
We couldn't get out of the van. There was no visible latches or locks to open. And he said, you're not leaving and you can't get your baggage back until you pay me the $3.
Attard was also told the payment didn't go through and then the driver accepted cash, but his credit card was immediately charged over $3,100. He also used an RBC Visa card and was initially told he would be refunded the money, but later told he wouldn't be.
The disputes department told me that because I willingly put in a PIN and I don't have a receipt, that they will not refund me anything.
CTV News reached out to RBC about the taxi charges. A spokesperson said, we review each instance of potential fraud on a case-by-case basis. We remind clients to take precautions to ensure they're dealing with a trusted source when transferring or receiving funds. Not long after reaching out to CTV News, Egan was told he would receive a full refund of his $2,300. Attard was also refunded his $3,100, which was great news for him.
I am ecstatic that I got in touch with CTV News. I'm so thankful for you and your team, what you guys did for me. I really appreciate it. You guys are heroes. Thank you guys so much.
And to avoid being caught in a taxi scam, always make sure you're in a licensed cab or shuttle and ask in advance if you can pay in cash, and only book a ride through a trusted source such as your resort or tour company. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, it is a beautiful evening weather-wise. We have the sun today. Sure, some cloud in the mix, but really a big change from yesterday because we also have the warmth added on top of that.
Yeah, definitely a big difference, and we know that we've only got a few more weeks, so I think you should enjoy these evenings when they're really nice like this.
I'm holding on to summer with all of my might, but we are experiencing a little bit of a transition as we head in towards the midpoint of the week. Wind direction will change. It will help warm things up, and we return to a much more seasonal forecast. Today was right on par for where we should be. It gets a little warmer, though, as we head into the day tomorrow. So if you have outdoor plans, campers in your life that are going to spend some time outside, extra sun protection and hydration are key. But it is a beautiful evening, and it's been a beautiful day if you want to spend some time outside. Maybe for these folks out in Pickering, hitting up the golf course. A fantastic day. What is it, 9-iron? I'm not a golfer, but I feel like this is a great day for golfing. I'm more of a mini-putt expert myself, but really and truly, it was a great day to spend some time outside. Sun protection becomes really important, though. Even though we had a little cloud cover here and there, the UV index was really high today, so you have to think about that if you want to enjoy the outdoors in the safest way possible. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 26. It feels like 29. The humidity is not so much of a factor today. Different story through portions of northern Ontario. It is 32 degrees in Peawanuck, and it feels like 35. So they're holding on to some heat that's impacting portions of the prairies. Different story for us, and what prompts the heat warning criteria is different from northern Ontario to southern Ontario to southwestern Ontario, so they are under the heat warning criteria up there. For us, a different story. A fairly seasonal night again, sitting at 17. A more northerly flow to the winds overnight. It becomes westerly late in the day tomorrow, and then eventually southerly, and that's what really starts to warm things up. Our daytime high, around 28, so not terrible, but it gets a little stickier outside. It starts to feel into the mid-30s, and that's the same really right across southern Ontario. Not a ton going on in the way of active weather. We're looking at a few areas of high pressure pushing in. Some scattered showers a little bit further north, and we're watching for some in the eastern Ontario. For us in the GTA, the majority of southern Ontario, we stay relatively dry. Our evening, the cloud cover that we do have right now pushes out. We have a fantastic night ahead of us into our Wednesday morning. Lots of sunshine out there. And it's going to get pretty hot into the afternoon. So again, if you do have outdoor plans, you're making the most of these dog days of summer, then you really have to think about hydration and sun protection. As we head into our Wednesday night, not a lot going on weather-wise. If you have outdoor plans, you play sports outside, soccer, basketball, whatever, it's going to be really beautiful. Heading into Thursday, not much going on. A few more showers into portions of central Ontario and eastern Ontario. And then as we step in towards the end of the week, that's the next chance for active weather. But we're focusing on the sunshine for our Wednesday and our Thursday. Pretty seasonal tomorrow. In towards our Thursday, those overnight lows get warm and they stay warm into the 20s. As we head in towards Friday, a little more cloud cover rolls in. Slight chance of showers that increases as we head into the weekend. Not a wash by any means, but keep your umbrella handy if you do have outdoor plans. Getting in towards Monday morning, a lot of that pushes out. And by the time we get to Tuesday, temperatures aren't going up on a Tuesday, but at least it's fairly seasonal. I'll send things back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
We turn to the debate over the exploding price tag to extend a walking and cycling path in the West End.
The multi-use trail runs along the rail corridor near Dundas Street West. There are plans to add another 2 kilometers to it, but at an updated cost of $150 million. Some city officials say it's simply not worth it. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live with the story. Beth.
Michelle, to tell you just how much the costs have increased to build a multi-use trail along the rail line that I'm on right now. When the first 2 kilometers of path was completed, it cost about $3.8 million. Now, to build the next 2 kilometer stretch, it's expected to cost $150 million. Ask people walking their dog or on a bike ride what they make of extending the West Toronto rail path, and they'll likely say something like this.
That's a great idea because sometimes we just don't want to go there like in one row. Yeah, that's good.
But what many haven't heard is the price tag, $150 million for Metrolinx to build a longer path, doubling it from 2.1 kilometers to 4.1 kilometers.
I think their head's going to explode. I mean, people expect us to respect taxpayers and show good value for money. And with all the pressing priorities, I mean, you could build 2 community centers for $150 million.
City Councillor Brad Bradford says the cost of the project has ballooned from $23 million in 2016 to $150 million now, working out to $75,000 a meter. He's not alone with his concerns.
We've not seen a granular breakdown of the cost breakdown that Metrolinx says that they need our money for, and we just don't have a lot of money to spend these days. So I want them to prove how they're spending the money, and frankly, I want us to challenge them to bring down the price tag significantly.
The city announced the project August 1st, saying the federal government will pay $23 million, with Toronto picking up the rest of the tab. Bradford says if costs can't come down, it should be paused.
I think they should find a way to do it. We need better infrastructure in the city, and we need greater safety for cyclists as well.
The current path runs from the junction to Dundas Street West near Lansdowne. The extension would take it further south to Sudbury Street near Liberty Village. Margaret Cooney says the path is an important artery. She uses it for medical appointments with her scooter.
we should have accessible transportation rather than being exposed, because I don't like traveling in traffic, cars, and crossing the street. It's dangerous for me.
The city says the estimated costs are complex and the original amount didn't include factors like land acquisitions and major utility relocations. Add to that the construction of 4 bridges to make the extension a reality.
The more we can do to connect different communities by any other way other than road and car is great. It's going to save the city money. It's going to save people time.
I do want it to extend further south so I can get downtown. I can take him on longer walks, but $150 million is outrageous. It's too much. So I do think we need a better deal.
A better deal in hopes of a better way to get around. A spokesperson for the mayor says she's always committed to ensuring projects have good value for money, and she will continue to work with city staff and partners to make sure this extension is good value for money too. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. From municipal to provincial finances, the Ford government has provided its first update on Ontario's economic and fiscal outlook since releasing this year's budget. The province released its first quarter finances this morning. They show Ontario's GDP increased by 0.7% after remaining static in the first quarter of last year. The Ford government is continuing to forecast a deficit of $9.8 billion for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Government revenues are expected to be about $205 billion, with program expenses of roughly $200 billion.
Today's first quarter finances show Ontario is hitting the mark with its financial projections. Overall, Ontario is in an enviable position and our finances are in excellent shape. Our projections for revenues, program spending, and borrowing, cost of borrowing, are all on track with the forecast from the 2024 budget.
The government will provide its next fiscal update when it releases its fall economic statement. That's set to happen on or before November 15th.
Also tonight, keeping toddlers away from the tablet to avoid tantrums. A new study links early use to outbursts of anger. The results of the Screen Time Tot study just ahead. An automotive industry executive recently put our province's electric vehicle charging system to the test, and he says it failed.
He embarked on a road trip using an SUV that needed a charge to reach his destination, and as Rahim Ladani reports, he says it was a frustrating journey.
As Ontario accelerates towards having more electric vehicles on the road, some drivers feel the infrastructure needs to speed up.
It really is just something that's always on your mind. You're watching the range of your vehicle and you're checking maps constantly.
Brian Kingston, who's the president of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, recently embarked on a family trip from Ottawa to Kincardine in his electric Chevrolet Blazer. After a local charger wasn't working, he made it to Stittsville, where only one of the 2 stalls were operational, and he charged up.
If you are traveling 400, 500, 600 kilometers outside of the range of your vehicle, you will need to access these public chargers, and they need to be fast public chargers because people don't want to be inconvenienced by, a 45-minute wait somewhere.
After charging again in Belleville, he arrived in Markham to top up. This is the charging station in Markham Kingston says he came to that day, and at the time, 2 out of the 3 stalls were not working. This afternoon, as you can see behind me, crews are on site doing maintenance.
I don't want people to come away thinking, oh God, the infrastructure is bad, so I can't choose an EV yet. I think what's important to remember is that 80% of Canadians drive 50 kilometers or less a day.
A spokesperson for Natural Resources Canada says the federal government is supporting the EV push by investing $1.1 billion to support the deployment of a nationwide network of 84,500 chargers by 2029 across Canada. That would be ahead of the federal Liberals' mandate that all vehicle sales emit zero emissions by 2035. Industry experts say car manufacturers are also bridging the gap.
Most of the automakers have announced that they're going to go to the NACS standard, which is essentially, let's call that the Tesla standard. And so they'll all be compatible with Tesla by probably 2025, late 2025.
Kingston's family did eventually reach Kincardine. However, they say it took 10 hours, 2 of which were spent charging their vehicle.
If you want Canadians to switch, you have to help them in that transition. And the best way to do it, particularly in these early years, is to overbuild the infrastructure.
Which he thinks will give drivers the green light for EVs. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
It's become a common parenting problem, the difficult task of getting your toddler away from their tablet. Well, now a new study suggests tablet use in young children can lead to emotional issues. The research shows that child tablet use at 3.5 years of age was associated with a higher number of expressions of anger and frustration a year later. In addition, children who were more prone to anger and frustration at 4.5 were more likely to have higher tablet use a year later. One of the authors of the study says it's because early childhood is an important period for emotional regulation.
The current recommendations are that children should not actually be exposed to any screen time or devices before the age of 2, with an exception for, short video chats or Skypes. And then the recommendation from the ages of 2 and 5 is that children should limit total screen time, and this includes television use, tablet use, to 1 hour or less per day.
The paper was published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics.
Created by Toronto's own Lorne Michaels, Saturday Night Live has been on the air for nearly 50 years. And now TIFF is offering a chance to see how it all began.
We should run the dress rehearsal and claw back a win next Saturday.
We can't. It's a live show.
Saturday Night is among 20 films added to the lineup for next month's Toronto International Film Festival. The Jason Reitman movie chronicles the early days of the late-night comedy show. Other new additions at TIFF this year include Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis and 2 Canadian films, The Village Keeper and You Are Not Alone. The festival begins September 5th. After the break, an animal hospital like you've never seen opens its doors in King City. The story behind the extensive facility that aims to revolutionize animal care.
We have a sunny and warm end to the day before the sun sets this evening, so if you wanted to get out for a walk, it will be a beautiful night. But the humidex remains high, so make sure you hydrate. Coming up, I'll have a full recap of your 7-day forecast.
We're concerned and we hope that history can return safely, but it's 5 days already.
Updating our top stories, crews searched a rural property in Stouffville today. Yuk-Ying Mui was last seen by her family on Friday. Police think this was one of the places the Markham woman and real estate agent was due to visit that day. At this point, investigators say they don't suspect foul play.
About almost 3/4 of the people who've acquired Mpox this year have not had 1 or 2 doses of vaccine. So we'd really like to remind people who are at risk to get either their first shot or their second shot if they've only had one so far.
That plea from Toronto Public Health after the number of Mpox infections in Toronto spiked. As of July 31st, there were 93 cases this year compared to 21 this time last year.
I think it should have happened a long time ago.
Why is that?
Because he was the franchise player when he was drafted.
Auston Matthews is expected to be named the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs during a news conference tomorrow. The NHL's top scorers last season takes over from John Tavares, who reportedly supports the change.
And remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app.
Starbucks announced a new chief executive officer today, and the stock surged higher as investors applauded the news. Paul Bagnall will be in Bloomberg has more.
Shares of Starbucks soared by more than 20% today as investors applauded news of an abrupt change coming to the company's senior management. Starbucks has hired Brian Niccol to be its new chief executive officer. Niccol is currently CEO of Chipotle Mexican Grill and will take the top job at Starbucks on September the 9th. The current CEO, Laxman Narasimhan, will step down immediately. Prior to today's big increase, Starbucks stock had fallen by 20% during 2024. Home Depot has cut its sales forecast, saying many of its customers are waiting for interest rates to fall before spending on home improvement projects. The company is now predicting same-store sales, a key measure of sales performance that excludes the effect of newly opened stores, to fall by 3 to 4% this year. Earlier, it had forecast only a 1% decline. Home Depot has 182 stores in Canada. Despite the gloomy forecast, Home Depot shares rose today. Shares of WSP Global, a big Montreal-based engineering company, rose today. The company made a large acquisition in the United States. WSP agreed to pay Power Engineers Incorporated of Idaho for $2.4 billion. Power Engineers provide services to power generators and renewable energy firms, among other clients. WSP's CEO said the purchase would put the company, quote, at the forefront of the energy transition. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar traded up slightly to 72.94 cents US. West Texas Intermediate crude oil fell by $1.66 US per barrel to $76.80. And the price of Western Canadian Select, a Canadian grade of heavy oil, rose to $65.28 US, a gain of $3.12. As for stock markets, the S&P TSX Composite Index in Toronto had a strong session. It finished up by almost a full percentage point, or 219 points, to 22,618 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Paul Bagnall of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Some exciting news for animal lovers of all kinds in the GTA. Today was the grand opening of a new animal hospital in King City. Several dignitaries were on hand to cut the ribbon to open the facility. It's a 60,000 square foot facility which has 4 stories, spans 50 acres, and brings together specialists and advanced technologies all under one roof. This hospital facility offers a full range of services for both small animals and horses. It has 12 exam rooms, 7 operating rooms, a state-of-the-art lab, pharmacy, and a specialized cat ward. The complex even features an indoor arena and outdoor paddocks for horses and green spaces for dogs.
I am honored to work alongside such a dedicated group of professionals who respect the cherished human-animal bond and share a common goal: to improve the lives of animals for the people who love them. As we look to the future, our mission remains clear. We will continue to innovate, educate, and provide exceptional care to every animal that walks through our doors. We are committed to being a center of excellence, a place of learning, and a source of inspiration for the veterinarian community and beyond.
The animal hospital was founded by philanthropist husband and wife team Danielle and Rob Scheinberg, who were presented with a plaque at today's ceremony by the King City Mayor. They also founded Dogtails Rescue and Sanctuary in 2014.
Toronto Blue Jays are hoping for back-to-back wins when they take on the Angels in Los Angeles again tonight.
Ground ball up the middle. That'll be a base hit. Horwitz around third. He's going to score.
Well, Wagner had a big night in his major league debut after being called up from AAA Buffalo. He had 3 hits, including an RBI in the 3rd inning that put Toronto up 2-0. The Jays added to the lead with a 2-run home run. Toronto also got a strong performance from Bowden Francis, who worked a career-best 7 innings, as the Jays went on to win it 4-2. Tonight's game gets underway just after 9:30.
Just ahead, taking giant steps to raise money for charity. A Toronto man walks to Niagara Falls to purchase much-needed school supplies for students in his neighborhood.
Tonight, new hope for life on Mars.
It means that it's potentially habitable in the mid-crust of Mars.
The surprising new finding beneath the surface of the red planet and why scientists are over the moon. Later on CTV National News.
Tomorrow at 6, strap in for a sneak peek at the X.
Actually, this was not bad.
Where the wildest ride,
hot dog inside a pickle,
is often the famous food. Tomorrow on CTV News at 6.
Anyone in the market for back-to-school supplies knows the costs really add up.
That's why a Toronto man has taken some great strides to help families in his Lawrence Heights community, walking from Toronto to Niagara Falls in just a couple of days. CTV's Janice Golding has his story.
For everyone who's asking how I'm doing, it's okay.
You're looking at Trevon Douglas making his way from Toronto to Niagara Falls. The youth leader decided to walk 134 kilometers this past weekend to raise money for back-to-school supplies for kids in the Lawrence Heights community.
Because in Lawrence Heights, a lot of youth, their parents are going through financial burdens. And what I want to do is just show the youth that they can do anything they put their mind to. I also like other kids to also get this opportunity. Getting school supplies and all that is not every family that's able to provide for their kid to go and get school supplies.
Douglas was joined by longtime friend Pius Adu Adarkwa.
I didn't even think twice or blink twice. I told him I'm going to join you, and we're all going to do it together so that the kids also get this opportunity, and one day they shall also pass it on to others.
Originally, Douglas believed the trek would take 28 hours. Instead, it took 46 hours, the duo getting by with nearly no sleep.
This whole 46 hours, we slept only one hour, but it wasn't 1 hour straight. It was in 15-minute pit stops, so we slept 15 minutes every city. Right now, my legs are still dead. I'm good. I just need to rest my legs.
The GoFundMe goal was to raise $25,000 to cover the cost for backpacks, school supplies, and shoes for youth in the community.
This walk, I used a 25-pound weighted vest. 25 represents the $25,000 that I would like to raise for the youth in Lawrence Heights.
A goal they haven't reached, although they hope people will still support the venture through GoFundMe.
Even though if we don't make it to the $25,000, I'm going to make sure that every single kid in Lawrence Heights gets a backpack, gets a clean haircut, gets free shoes.
Janice Golding, CTV News.
Great work, and that's how you get your steps in.
Yes, that's so impressive. And look, can you just look at this sunset? I mean, glorious.
That's nice.
It's a picture.
We were just talking, I know, it's just very zen. And we're getting into that time of year where the sun is setting a little earlier. We're not seeing that daylight right through to the end of the day, but we are into that sweet spot in the summer season. As we head into the day tomorrow, it only gets nicer. A few light clouds out there, but they push out as we head in towards the early part of our evening. Temperature-wise, it's still pretty comfortable, and that northwesterly wind really helping to keep the humidity at bay. Sitting at 26, it feels like 29, and as we head into the day tomorrow, the sun comes out, just like the song says, and as we head into Thursday, even nicer. A little rain in the long range, but I'm focused on the sunshine.
Looking on the brighter side. Thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.